Howdy doody, scumbags, and welcome to I Rebel. This is our summer-long rewatch of Star Wars Rebels, the sexiest, most orange cartoon ever made. I'm Andrew Fantasia, and joining me is...
I'm James Razile. Thank you for having me here.
You're
today.
welcome. It's very nice to meet you, James Razile.
It's cool to be back talking about the Rebels.
Mm-hmm. Rebels is... I like it better than Clone Wars. That might make me lose some votes.
I'm not even going to comment on anything you just said because I'm staying neutral. They are both equal in my eyes.
I love the Clone Wars. They're very different shows, though. You know what I mean? Like this is more like a serialized drama. Clone Wars is more kind of like a comic book in cartoon form. Like it just has its little arcs and it's more like bite-sized. You know what I mean? But they're both fantastic shows. Dave Filoni, you're a master. So let's get right into it.
That's a good way to put the Clone Wars, actually.
Yeah. Thank you. I've been saving that up for a rainy day. So let's get right into it. We got today's 3 episodes we're going to be talking about are Fight or Flight, Rise of the Old Masters, and Breaking Ranks. So let's get right into Fight or Flight. This is probably one of my favorite episodes of season 1.
Really?
Yeah.
This is Zeb and Ezra.
Yeah.
And they need to buy fruit.
Right.
That is not local to Lothal. And Hera they're not getting along well. And they're sharing a room. And they're not getting along whatsoever. And Hera sends them a grocery list. And she's like, these are the groceries you need to get. And also this fruit. And then they're like, okay. And they leave. And Kanan says, they're not going to find that. That's my Freddie Prinze Jr. voice, by the way. I'm Freddie Prinze Jr. Tweet him and let him know that I do a great impression of him. And then he's like, they're not going to find that. And then, of course, they find it.
They find it. There's a lot of those fruits in this first season. I feel like everybody's always eating a fruit.
My mic just fell off. Keep going.
The fruit is called Meluran. And I like it because it looks like my favorite fruit. It looks like mangoes, but it just has spikes on it.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Yeah, it's just a mango with spikes. I don't know if those spikes hurt like a pineapple or if they're just like soft and yielding.
Like a prickly pear.
Like a prickly pear, yeah. But it looks good. I would eat an Meluran fruit. And there's another fruit that they keep eating on the show a lot.
The purple thing.
Yeah, Jogan or Yogan.
Yeah. But this is what you just said is that fruit keeps coming back, and that's what Rebels does so well is they plant these seeds, and we're going to talk about those seeds because they're starting to get planted already. I didn't when you watch it the first time, you didn't even realize. Now rewatching, I was like, oh, they're planting this, and it's going to pay off later, but we won't say what the payoff is.
Yeah, and that's another kind of little subtle difference that they have to Clone Wars. Is Clone Wars would have, it introduced great stuff, but it's sort of self-contained to whatever arc they were telling. Mm-hmm. Whereas this one is just like, here's this fruit, and now you're going to see this fruit everywhere. Like nothing is just filler.
Yeah, well, I was talking to somebody recently, maybe on a video, and they were saying, I skipped this episode, I skipped that episode because they seemed like filler. And my response was, yeah, but there are no filler episodes necessarily in Rebels because everything has a payoff at some point. On the show, like at some point, they're gonna call back to it, and you're gonna be like, yes, Dad, they called back to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've been really good with that so far.
Which this episode is a prime example of that.
Yeah. So they get sent on this crazy shopping mission, which is supposed to just be literally just that, just shopping. Hera just wants them off the ship, but of course it's Zeb and Ezra, so they get into trouble. And the episode is called Fight or Flight. And what ends up happening is they end up stealing a TIE fighter.
Yeah.
Like literally Grand Theft TIE fighter.
Which, again, is the first time we saw someone steal a TIE. Mm-hmm. And just like we were saying with Ezra in Force Awakens with the lightsaber calling to him, this kind of lets us know that anybody can fly a TIE fighter. As long as you know how to fly, you can probably fly. You don't have to. It's not really that big of a thing, but there are it's just it kind of got us ready for Poe. I thought,
and everybody loves Poe.
No, that's not true. Actually, don't blow into the mic.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mike.
You're popping your peas.
So they steal this TIE fighter, which, by the way, there was a really cool shot that we've never really seen in Star Wars before, where I think it was Zeb who turned a corner and the TIE was there, like looming over him, flying, like just 20 feet off the ground, like, hey, stop. And I'm just like, you know what? that makes a tie that much scarier. Like, imagine just turning a corner and there's a hovering tie and the guy is like, "Hey, you, stop where you are." Like, that frightened me.
Yeah, that would be cool to see in a film.
Yeah.
And also, when Zeb gets in there, he mentions how there is no, I'm moving this forward, so it's like that.
I'm very impressed he did that without it falling.
You like that?
Yeah.
Don't jinx it. But this one, Zeb says there are no shields in the ties.
That's right. Yeah, they're very, from what I remember reading, the ties are mass produced, they're super cheap, but the downside of that is, like, when that gets hit, it gets hit.
Which shows you how disposable they think of their stormtroopers.
Yeah.
Which is impressive. This episode, again, it's a filler episode in a lot of ways, but it hints to a lot of things. But this is episode, I guess technically 4, but it's the third one if you're not including the Spark of the Rebellion. So all of a sudden you still need to establish that these guys are a team, and the teamwork is important. And they did a really good job, and a really good job of Zeb and Ezra, and showing they don't really like each other, and then their growth and how they kind of get together.
Yeah, and we needed that because they're so, when they meet in episode 1, they are such different people.
Yeah.
Like, Ezra's this little, like, orphan scoundrel Aladdin kind of guy, and Zeb's kind of like Jane from Firefly. He's the Jane of the group. Like, he's just, he's a mercenary. He's the muscle.
Andrew, as someone who has not seen Firefly, explain to me this. Oh, you are.
I'm sorry, James. He's like the muscle of the group. He's got a heart of gold, but he does not wear that. Whatever the opposite is of wearing your heart on your sleeve, that's him. Like, he tucks his heart into his pants. Like, he doesn't. He's not an emotional kind of guy. So we kind of needed to chip away at that so that we as an audience could learn to be, accepting of this new character. And what better way than to have him team up with our main hero and kind of develop this bromance, because the crew of the Ghost is kind of like a family. Like, Kanan and Hera are essentially everybody's parents, and then they've got these 3 kids running around who don't always get along. Like, Ezra and Zeb argue like brothers, and then you got Chopper, who's like the family pet, who's just like coughing stuff up on the carpet. So we needed to kind of see these two, for lack of a better word, brothers, kind of bro out. We needed their episode of them going out together, fighting, arguing over stupid crap, and then coming together at the end and being like, "Hey, you know what? You're all right." And they have that whole moment where they keep like punching each other's shoulders, and then eventually Zeb just punches a little too hard, and Ezra's like,
Yeah. The only problem is, in the next episode, you can kind of see that development continue, but it also feels like they've downgraded a little bit by the next one, because then all of a sudden Zeb just hates Ezra again.
You're right, yeah.
And it's like, well, what? You just established this, and now you're going back in time and not liking him anymore. That was, anyway, we're going at it, but that was my thing with the next episode, is like, well, their camaraderie is gone.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's a product of like the writing room, things happening kind of out of chronological order, or if that's just like Zeb is always going to be busting his balls no matter what, and they just wanted to.
The busting balls, like, this would just felt more than, there's more animosity than just busting his chops at this point. And you know what? A part of it too is, I don't know if it's a writing room because, well, it might be because maybe they didn't have the full plan of everything. Maybe, they had the pieces that they're planting, but maybe they didn't have the characteristics down pat yet. But also, rewatching this, you really see that this really is very similar to an old, like, what I used to watch when I was a kid, Saturday morning cartoon show.
Yeah.
Like, it obviously will grow into the depth and whatnot. But right now, when you're watching it, like, these are just fun adventures, and you just kind of have to accept the fact that maybe this episode has nothing to do with the next episode. Even though we know that it will. But when, those Saturday morning cartoons I watched as a kid, I couldn't tell you if there was a through line on any of them. I mean, I highly doubt there was.
Yeah.
They just wanted to sell me toys. And this is a little bit more than that. But a lot of it does feel like like that type of show at times.
You're right. It has that has that air to it. And like, I doubt, I love He-Man, but I doubt He-Man had the through line.
No, it did.
So it did?
It did.
Oh.
It did not, but his Castle of Grayskull, he had the power.
I always heard, side Akbar, that they did a remake of the He-Man cartoon in like the early 2000s, and I heard that is like spectacular.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about that. I worked at Toys R Us at that time, and I got a He-Man figure. I gave it to my nephew since then. And you know what? I never watched it because it looked too
new.
Yeah, like it looked like they were trying to make it good, and He-Man. That sounds bad, but I like my cheesy looking He-Man in his leotard, or no, his loincloth.
And I love how his voice, like you don't expect that voice to come out of somebody that big.
Yeah.
He's like, "Hi, I'm He-Man."
Prince Adam.
Prince Adam here. Anyway,
But are we on to the next episode now?
yeah, let's
Or
move
just
on.
segue
So, Fight or Flight it was one of my favorites.
Yeah, you really like that one.
Yeah.
It's a fun episode, and it does pay off down the road.
It does.
And you get that awesome fruit, and you learn a little bit more about Lothal. Is really where we should bring this one.
You do, yeah. And Lothal, it's a beautiful looking planet, and it reminds me, if anybody played Knights of the Old Republic, it reminds me of how Dantooine looked. Like just these rolling, beautiful fields of like wheat, just as far as the eye can see, and like some hills and like little mountains and stuff. It's a really cool looking planet, and I would be down to see it on like a live action stage.
I will say this galaxy does not, I mean, the prequels kind of showed us one, and maybe in Last Jedi we'll see something else cool, but this galaxy really looks like a nightmare. It really looks like a nightmare. Every planet's like sand. There's not much going on. The Emperor destroyed the good ones. That's what I mean. It's not the most lovely looking galaxy. I'm happy on Earth-ish. Anyway, the next episode
is called Rise of the Old Masters. This is a sad episode. This one bummed me out. I remember the first time I saw it.
I was very happy.
You're very happy. Well, you have good reason to be happy because it makes other stuff make sense. But it's just sad because, it's somebody basically what happens is there's a senator in the Galactic Senate on Coruscant who keeps doing these sort of underground broadband transmissions. Like he kind of like pirates the radio waves, and he makes secret transmissions to the rebels saying like, "Hey, I'm on your side. Fight the Empire. The Empire sucks."
Which is a cool side to see. It was nice to see that. That is probably something that would happen.
Yeah, and it's nice for us because like we're rooting for the Ghost Crew, and for all intents and purposes, they are alone.
I'm rooting for Callus.
just Callus, not
Only
even the
Callus.
Empire.
No, just Callus.
Callus and his little pasta strainer helmet.
Yep.
So the senator sort of gives some sort of transmission, and it tips them off to the fact that a Jedi from the prequel era, Miss Luminara Unduli, who I had the action figure of, by the way, and it was really cool because she was going like this. But Luminara Unduli has been found and captured by the Empire, and is now taken to this Star Destroyer where she's being held prisoner, and they're going to do whatever they do to Jedi. And so the whole episode is about Kanan and Ezra being like, hey, because he's trying to teach Ezra the Force. But what I love about Kanan is that he's been forced into this master role when he never even got a chance to finish being a Padawan. So he's like, I don't think I have the right to teach this boy. And meanwhile, Ezra thinks, oh, I don't think this guy likes me because he's not teaching me. And there's this whole this is like their bromance story now. Like they have to learn to like be cool with each other. And when Kanan hears this news that Luminara Unduli has been found and captured, and she's alive and everything, he's like, if I rescue her, there's somebody who can train Ezra much better than I can. And meanwhile, Ezra thinks he's just trying to pawn him off on some other Jedi. So you get this great little misunderstanding between the two that really sets up just what kind of people they are. Ezra, somebody who's used to being abandoned, now thinks, okay, now great, this guy, he's abandoning me too. Meanwhile, Kanan is like paralyzed with this fear of like, do I have the right to teach anybody anything? So this is some of the strongest character work that you will find in a cartoon period. Like this is great stuff.
Yeah, this was a really cool episode, and it was the reminder that the Jedi are gone, also, which is what made you sad. It made me very happy. No, I'm joking. But then the Inquisitor.
Yeah, this is the first time they come across the Inquisitor.
Yeah, they come across the Inquisitor, and the Inquisitor is a tough character to pull off. Period. Because first of all, in the back of our minds, we're like, well, Vader killed all the Jedi. And then they're like, no, well, the Inquisitor came in and finished it off. Like, Vader did what he had to do. Then the Inquisitors were sent out to do it. But also, the Inquisitor has to be a threat, much like we're going to talk about in Season 2 with Vader. So the Inquisitor has to be this threat. But the problem is he can't beat Kanan and Ezra in the 4th episode of your show or the 5th episode of your show. Like, he cannot beat. They can't win. But so they're in this situation now where they've met him, and they need to escape, and they need to escape in a way that doesn't diminish the Inquisitor, even though it's a kid's cartoon, so they could beat him fairly easily, but they need to do it in a way where they can't diminish the Inquisitor because he needs to be a lingering threat, and they always have to be worried about this guy, but also in a way that shows that Ken and Ezra are capable of handling themselves as well for later episodes when they actually need to be capable of handling themselves. And I thought in that prison scene, they actually did a good job of that.
They did. One thing that so far, knock on wood, the show has been so great at doing within all the 3 seasons is they're very, very aware of sort of, for lack of a better term, everybody's power level, like on a scale of 1 to 10. They're very aware, like, okay, we can have Vader show up eventually and fight these guys, but these guys aren't scratching Vader.
Yeah.
They're not. And introducing somebody like the Inquisitors is a perfect way to, introduce us to this, A, great new villain, and B, give us combat where we can actually, kind of be in a little bit of suspense, be like, you know what? I don't know who has the better odds of winning this fight right now. If it was Vader, it'd be like, okay, they're done. But we got the Inquisitor, we got this sort of rogue Padawan in Kanan, we got this young untrained street rat in Ezra, so it's really, everything feels more evenly matched. And we always talk about how we love prequel shout-outs, and prequel references, and the Inquisitor is from Utapau, so there is that. He's an Utapauan,
and he kind of looks like one too.
There's one thing I want to do for I Rebel. Can you do like on-screen counters? Can you make like a little number pop up in your editing wizardry?
I don't really edit.
Oh, okay. Well, whoever you pay to edit, I don't know what editing's like, but I want to do like a little on-screen counter every time Rebels introduces a new planet into the Star Wars.
All right, you got to count in and give me the number.
I'm doing a counter right now. We got one. It's called Stygian Prime. It's a new
Stygian Prime. All right, what's Stygian Prime?
Stygian Prime it's a scary ass place. If you know anything about old myth and stuff like that, Stygian is basically another word for like a hellish environment. And Stygian Prime is this planet where they have this prison where they're keeping Luminara unduly. So Stygian Prime is actually where, I said earlier it was a Star Destroyer. I was just being stupid because I forgot. But that's where Kanan and the crew go.
It feels like they're on a Star Destroyer when they get on there, though.
The interiors on the show are all very basic, so it's easy to mix it up. But that's where they basically go to do this little breakout mission that they have. So we get Stygian Prime, and then we get the breakout mission, which goes fairly smoothly until we get the twist of the episode, which is that they break into the cell and they see Luminara, but it's not really Luminara. It's, I don't know, what is it?
Like
a
hologram?
It's either a hologram or like a force vision. Like I wasn't 100% sure.
I don't think it's a force vision. I think it was a trap.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so like that's something that the Empire set up,
which is crazy,
as a trap.
It's something you can only do in a cartoon.
Yeah, but basically Luminara is there. She's just dead. Like they literally have her body hang like her in a coffin, like you can see her face like up on a wall, which is really it's so excessive on the Empire's part if you think about it. Like they could have just put the hologram in that room and that's it.
I think they needed the body there so that when Kanan gets her he can sense. Remember he mentions that he can sense that she's there, but there's something different about it.
You're right.
They needed the body there for the Jedi to sense, if there are Jedi, because I think at this point the Empire doesn't know if any Jedi are alive, and if so, how many. And so I think that's the whole point of this. Is they're like, let's weed out the last ones, and it's looking like Ezra and Kanan are the last two in the galaxy at this point.
It looks like it. I mean, they haven't found. I mean they got their hopes up looking for Luminara, and then it's like, nope, she's gone. That cool action figure you bought from episode 2 that's going like this doesn't matter anymore. She's dead, and that's sad. That made me sad.
Depressing. And then at the end of the episode, Kanan tells Ezra tells Hera that him and Ezra are stuck together.
Mm-hmm. Like waffles.
What?
Stuck together like waffles. It's a Simpsons reference. You guys get it. And we get that cool little running joke in this episode too about how the Inquisitor keeps doing funky things with his lightsaber, and everybody keeps saying, "Kanan, can yours do that?"
Yeah, that was good.
I like that, and even that joke has a comeback.
Yep.
Later on, which is great. So loving this. Everything's going great. So let's go to our third and final episode of this.
Finn's Daddy.
Finn's Dad.
Finn's dad.
Maybe.
Finn's
Question
dad.
mark.
Finn's dad.
Or Snoke.
100% no. God. This was the dumbest, not the episode, the theory when they were like, well, that's Finn's father or uncle or something. Well, I mean, I guess it's possible, but it's stupid.
The episode's called Breaking Ranks, and
Good episode.
It is. It's a cool episode. It's about Ezra trying to find out. I can't remember what it is he wants to find out. What information? But it involved, like, in order to get the information, he pretends to be a stormtrooper cadet, and basically,
Which I love.
Yeah, it was cool. He basically has to go to Stormtrooper Hogwarts and kind of earn their trust and use that as a way to sneak into Callus's office and take something. He's got like a USB stick or something, and Ezra's trying to take it because that's got info on it. First of all, the training that they make those little boys, those kids go through is insane.
It looked like a Super Mario level, like from 3D Land.
It is bonkers. Like, if you remember that episode of Clone Wars, The Box, that Obi-Wan episode where he's disguised as a bounty hunter and he's in that crazy-ass box, it's literally like that. But these are just little kids in armor with, as far as the Empire knows, no force powers whatsoever, and they have to jump on these boxes, and I'm like, whoa, dude. I don't know where those trainees end up, but I've never seen stormtroopers who could do that. Like, so
They all can. We just don't see it in the movies.
that's true. They've never been trapped in a pit with moving platforms.
Exactly.
Just wait till that happens. Episode 19.
Oh my god.
So it's called the Well, where this little pit where these people train, and Ezra, being the cool, laid-back dude that he is, he makes some friends in this academy. One of whom is my boy Dante Bosco from Avatar: The Last Airbender. What's his character's name? His name is Jai Kal. And he's the guy who, at the end of the episode, gets away with them. But the other friend that he makes, did I write his name? Yeah, Zer Leonis.
FN2. Oh.
FN2187. Zer Leonis is the other friend that he makes. And Zer has this cool little backstory where his sister went missing, and he's pretty sure the Empire's behind it. And he's also kind of like worming his way through the inside. And of course, you've got a young black stormtrooper. Everybody started saying stupid theories. He's related to Finn.
But this was showing more that the Empire, if you were showing excessive skill in your field, then the Empire would be like, you might be in tune with the Force.
Yeah.
And they were weeding those people out. That was really the takeaway from this episode. But then everybody overlooked it because of Finn and being stupid on the internet. But that was the cool thing about this is they're like, let's do these stupid trials that are way too intense for kids. And the ones that succeed and succeed hard, we're going to examine them a little bit further. And who knows what happened. Like, that is a storyline I would like to see pursued, is what happened to these kids. Did they just kill them? Did they just like shoot them in the back of the head?
For all we know, this is how Inquisitors are made.
That's the thing. Like, what happens with these kids, and where do they go? And do they get awoken in episode 7?
Oh,
what?
Because that's what happens to the Force. It wakes up. Zer Leonis, I like him though, and
he's a cool guy.
And again, he comes back. This is not his only rodeo. I don't remember if Jai Kal comes back.
Yeah, I can't. We'll talk about that when the time comes, Andrew.
We will. I'm getting ahead of myself.
But again, this is the show planting seeds. It's like, this is this, and you might think nothing of consequence is happening, but in 5, 10, 20 episodes from now, you're going to be like, oh, remember that? Oh, thank goodness I watched that random episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Even the two officers who are overseeing this training, there's that guy, Mr. Grint, and I can't remember the skinnier guy's name, but those two, we've seen them again, I think a couple times. Like, they play a big part throughout this season. And you're right. From the comments that they make to each other when they see Ezra excelling at this test, they're like, make a note of this kid.
Yeah.
Like, the Empire's not stupid. They're not going to look and see like, oh, this guy's really good. He's just probably a gymnast. Like, they know. The Empire's been informed. If you see anybody who exhibits possibly this, that, and the other thing.
And Leonis' sister fit into that category.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because where is she? So
at this point, I'm thinking she's gonzo. She's dead.
Maybe she'll show up as an Inquisitor. Wouldn't that be sad?
Oh my god, that'd be so awesome. But maybe we'll find out later on in another episode.
Maybe I hope so.
Maybe we won't.
And sorry, if I remember right, I think I had a question here. Oh yeah, there was one thing that also kind of took me by surprise that I totally forgot about this episode was we see there's a very big Kyber crystal in it, a huge one that the Empire is moving, and they even hint at it. Like Hera says, like we have to get rid of that crystal because can you imagine what they could do with it?
Which I think was that this episode?
It was.
Yeah. So that was it. This one really. This was what. Sorry, I've watched so many episodes.
I know.
I thought it was the next one. This episode. This is what I loved about this episode. That's Rogue One's begin. Like this, they're already starting us on the path to Rogue One. They're like, there's the crystal that's gonna power the Death Star, and you're like, but when you first watch it, you don't really think anything. Now that I've watched Rogue One and I go back and watch, I'm like, oh, they were just telling us Rogue One. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Awesome. Rogue One's on Netflix. But
and now that we've read Catalyst, we know that crystal in this episode was probably commissioned by Krennic.
Yeah.
One of many, and he's like, take this to Geonosis.
Yeah. It was just like that moment, which I thought was in the next episode. That moment was totally awesome.
Yeah.
Because it's like, because the story group of Rebels knows, who knows how much, but they know enough of Rogue One, Force Awakens, but Rogue One at this point, because Rogue One was the second standalone to be announced, and it's not like Force Awakens where they announced it. J.J. Abrams came in and said, "Throw that out, Kasdan, let's write gold." It was more like John was like, "Here's a movie on stealing Death Star plans. Perfect. Kyber crystals are a big part of it. Yep. Doesn't matter how many rewrites you do, that's in it." So they were like, well, we know our time period. We know the Rogue One time period. At some point, we have to like. There's no way to avoid it unless we get canceled after a season and a half. Like, there's no way to avoid it. So they just went with it, and I thought that was great.
Yeah, and it was that. Now that we bring it up, that's what Ezra was looking for in that. That's why he went to the academy, because Callus had the schematics or whatever, basically the data showing where that crystal was. Like, he had basically like the logistics, the transport log of that crystal, and we get to see something in the climax here that I don't think we've seen before in Star Wars. Was we get to see what happens when a Kyber blows up, and it's scary. I mean, you get this huge green burst of energy, and then like, and just kind of expands in on itself. So that it's weird because I don't think we saw anything similar when the Death Star blew up. So I don't know if this is like if this is a different case, or if maybe it was a bigger crystal.
This was a super crystal.
It was a super crystal.
This was a super duper crystal. No, it's effects. Whatever.
Yeah, but but yeah, that's Kybers. Don't mess with them. And I hope we get to see more Kybers in the films too. And I think we might.
I think Last Jedi we're gonna get some for sure.
Yeah.
I think that's why they're mentioned in Rogue One.
Yeah.
I've been saying that forever. So I think Rogue One, because say all the time, Rebels. We love Rebels. You can put stuff in Rebels, but people don't watch Rebels. Like, there are people that don't watch Rebels that just watch the movies, and they're not going to know that Kanan and Ezra tried to stop a Kyber crystal.
Yeah.
So they're going to go in. They don't know what a Kyber crystal is, and Rogue One. But this leading into Rogue, it's like a beautiful
It is.
Rebels, Rogue One saga.
This is the stuff, like you said, this little having a Kyber crystal involved now. This is what makes canon so great.
Yeah.
As little things like this.
And then when they go back and retcon things, that's what makes canon stupid. Like Yoda's lightsaber. Why bother mentioning it at all? Anyway.
It's okay.
Gripes.
That's our second episode here of I Rebel. We will see you next time. We're going to be doing this all summer long, just counting it down, going through the whole series up until season 4 premieres.
Last question before we end. So we already have Ahsoka, Kanan, and Sabine Wren Black Series figures. Who would you like to see Black Series from Rebels?
Dude, it's like literally every episode I watch of this show makes me think about that. I mean, Callus would be awesome. Zeb with his bow rifle would be awesome. Hera, who's my favorite character on the show by far. I think we're getting her, but because we're Canada, we get her like 9 years later than everybody else.
Road trip.
Road trip to Walgreens. And then we haven't gotten Ezra yet, so Ezra and Chopper would be cool. I want as many droids as possible. Black Series is kind of skimpy on droids, so give me a Chopper.
Because they have to make them small, and then they have to charge you an arm and a leg, and then you feel like you're up to. I would like to see an Inquisitor.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It'd be cool looking.
I'd like this one over the ones we get later, like the other two Inquisitors. I'd rather have.
No, this is the
season
Inquisitor
one.
that I want. This is the Inquisitor.
Yeah.
The other two are like, oh, we shouldn't have killed the Inquisitor. This is the well, they need to kill the Inquisitor. We'll get spoiler alert. He dies. All right.
All right, so we'll see you next time on I Rebel. I'm Andrew Fantasia.
I'm James Razile.
Peace.
Hey scumbags, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.